Chris Cuomo interviews Jake Barber and James Fowler on the UFO topic of Skywatcher. Guys, this is interesting. Guys, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Hope you enjoy.
A conclusion we jump to. We're excited when we can actually find something in the sky with any of our equipment and then not be able to define what it is. That's a big deal for this group.
James, what do you think the ratio is with government transparency in terms of what they don't know versus what they don't want to show?
That's a really hard question, Chris. And I'll kind of lay it out for you. And let me start actually from a super macro view before we go into a tight, zoomed in, enhanced view. If you look at how many U.S. national labs there are, there's over 375. There's close to 400,000 civilians working for the U.S. government in national labs, whether they're UARCs, FFRDCs, or other labs, doing work for the government in classified projects. Their budgets are approximately $90 billion a year. I would ask, what are these labs doing? Are these labs developing new advanced technology? For me to believe that the UAPs are observing are man-made, of human origin, long ago I came up with the conclusion that they would had to have started many years ago, probably in the 40s or 50s. Perhaps they could have taken the scientists and engineers from the Manhattan Project and from Operation Paperclip, when the United States squarely owned the most smart people in the world, if you will, the most intellectually capable group of men and women in existence were here. And then they formed the national labs from there. I would offer what we're observing are technologies that are at least one generation ahead of anything we have. So if you're looking at propulsion, telemetry, cloaking technology, stealth technology, it's all well ahead of what's observable or known in the public sphere. And I can tell you I'm an ISR expert, and the methodologies being used don't match anything I would know to be viable for a technology use in a deployment scenario, meaning the UAPs that fly past us and approximate us don't use traditional ISR tactics. There's never an orbit. There's never a obvious tactic that we would use against our enemies as per normal tactics. So, having said that, it's really hard to believe that it's ours. So, the disparity between how much is ours or how much is man-made, how much is other is really hard to see through. But for certain, there's probably all three categories in play here.
I'd like to add real quick too. I mean, beyond that, if our government, if we're going to, put them in one giant bucket and assume there's some cohesive and cooperative entity, which they aren't, they wouldn't be setting up programs like OSAP. The Office of Aero, if you look at the mission statement of Aero, it's actually very similar to ours in Skywatcher. OSAP was specifically set up to study UFOs. And I'm going to go back to that classic acronym because it's just as good as UAP. And at the time, that was the acronym. I mean, the government wouldn't be spending money and hiring experts and putting out requests for proposals for folks that could help look into the subject matter of what the heck is going on in the sky. Aero specifically it was set up to look to investigate the UAP and provide a mechanism for reporting UAP and taking a rigorous scientific approach to discovering what it is. So, the spirit of the Office of Aero is quite exciting for guys like us because that mission is something we're passionate about and capable of looking into. But there's a lot of challenges that have become clear the last couple of years since Aero has been stood up, which is why we feel strongly that the private sector and autonomous organizations like ours stand a good chance to actually be the method for ushering in this new era when it comes to disclosure. And we have to have the government involved because for better or worse, our institutions and our offices within government are those who we pay to be responsible and who we vote to be responsible for handling issues like this from a security standpoint and a public safety standpoint. So again, the fact that the government at large has invested a lot of money and recruited a lot of talent to specifically look into the subject matter of UAP and UFO, which is that other bucket, is evidence itself, because you would have to ask yourself, what would be an alternate explanation for standing up those offices and issuing funding through contracts to the private sector if they knew what was going on?
So can I add to that real quick, Chris, before we leave the stop stream? Because there's something I left out of mine, which is, as I told you, I've met with the government many times in many skiffs for many different agencies on this topic, bringing them data, briefing them, showing them PowerPoints, giving the government data. I've given the government over 1.5 terabytes of UAP data, specifically and explicitly for these classes of UAPs. This includes radar data, imagery data, signals intelligence. All of the above has been given to the government. When I have gone to offices whose core mission is UAP studies, it's really hard for me to discern if they are purposefully being incompetent or if there's a big bureaucratic problem, blockage in the way, stopping them from being effective. I have been to national labs who are supporting this effort, and the same thing that I find in the DC region is folks asking the wrong questions, not studying this, not taking it seriously. And if they are taking it seriously, again, I'm not quite sure if it's masked or purposeful incompetence or true incompetence. I have a hard time believing it's purposeful, because the people are very smart and very capable, apparently. But when I tell the government I have 1.5 terabytes or 2 terabytes of data to give you, a lot of times they can't even take it. They're like, hey, how do we get this in a skiff? Hey, can you send me a link? They ask all the silly questions about how they can even ingest our data. And it's been extremely frustrating. We have recognized from the beginning this has to be a public-private partnership.
Okay, $90 billion a year is spent. But that's not just on one specific thing. That's, a whole laundry list of things, right? But are they building top secret technology, UFOs, whatever the case may be? Maybe. Do we need to know about that? No, we don't. We have to protect national security. Obviously, right? Because we don't want our adversaries knowing anything. We don't want them knowing jack. I'll be blunt with you. We don't want them knowing jack shit. But the whole UFO thing. Are we back engineering those? I'm going to give you my response right now. I do think we are. I'm almost 100% positive we are. You give me your thoughts down below. That $90 billion, we're funding a bunch of different organizations. One of them has something to do with this particular topic. And do you think that part of that money is going to fueling the back engineering of something exotic? You guys, let me know down below. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Peace out.